Hey everyone, Chris here. I am recording our last session together, and you'll have to excuse me. Things are a little weird today. Yeah, it's just been a weird couple weeks. I don't know about y'all, but I just wanted to go ahead and get this down. Hopefully, this will be a shorter video. I'm thinking maybe 20 minutes or less. I'm gonna try for that. So, let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna share my screen. Nope, we want to go to video. There we go. Slideshow. Cool. So here we are, our last week. So our check-in today, and I am being very silly. And I got super nervous because like I had this thought like 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. But now that I'm actually in the office doing this, I'm like, oh God, why did I do this? So like I turned my lights down low, I closed my blinds. But yes, I am going to dance for you. And yeah, I'm going to play one of my favorite songs right now is Idols, IDLES, Dancer. I think it's hilarious. I hope you can hear it. I'm not going to dance to the whole 3-minute song, but honestly, sometimes in order to get out of our heads, we literally need to get into our bodies. And so, stretching, dancing, anything you can think of to get people out of their heads and into the moment, um, drawing, like anything that gets the body moving, right? So, bear with me. There are other people here. Not in this room, but like at the office. So I'm not going to play it too loud, but I love this song. I think it's hilarious. The music video is great. This band has a lot of great content that's like anti-toxic masculinity and really supports women and trans and LGBTQI plus identifying folks. So here we go. You can listen to a bit different song. To cheat, steal away from loose, so to speak. She said, sweat. To speak. Sweat. Give myself to you, a smashing move. Oh. I think that's enough torture for you right now. So, let me go back to sharing my screen. Ooh, now I'm out of breath. If you can prove that you don't take yourself too seriously, I think people respond well to that. Um, I mean, unless you're in some crazy high up position or something that shouldn't be silly. I don't think anything's like that though. I think we should all be allowed to be a little bit silly. Okay, whew. So, we already did that. Cool. So, switching it up and following your instincts are really important. Um, I think our society gets us into this headspace of like, we have to do everything right, or do it a certain way, or do it by the book. And yes, obviously, there are rules and ethics and all of those things for good reasons, but we also do this training to help people and help ourselves in the moment. And so, I don't know, I think I've said to some of you individually, and I might have said this before in a different lecture, but like I really feel like social work and theater are kind of aligned in a lot of ways. Like we give you the framework, we give you the blocking, the words, right? And then you go and make them your own so that when you're in a session with a client, you can let go of the training and let go of what's right or what's wrong and just be present with them because you've done the work, you've done the program, you know the frameworks and the different modalities and things like, or at least the touch points of them, the important points. So yeah, follow your instincts on those things. So this is our last week of assignments and activities. Why did it put me in the middle? I hate that. Please, no. Oh God, okay, it's just gonna stay there. That's fine. Your skills demonstration is due December 8th. Remember that there are 4 parts. I am actually going to, oops, there we go. I'm gonna show you on your screen. Cool. So the process recording that I just emailed out to y'all today, that whole paper that you turned in, the skills template, the skills checklist, that thing. The second is what you did last week with your partner, the tools and measures. If you're having problems with that, let me know. The third part is your reflection from doing the peer group feedback session. So you want to answer these questions here, these 5 questions. And then a critical reflection of yourself in the evaluation process. So, reflect on how you showed up in the session and also like what all went into this process and how you felt about it. So answering these questions in that. So, yeah. Uh, like I said, I emailed out the um, I emailed the recorded session feedback to y'all today. I already got everybody's grades in there, so good job, everybody. And I put that little video into as well that just had some general feedback for the class as a whole. There is an optional makeup assignment that is also due, I think, on the 8th. And I have an extra credit opportunity that I'm hoping to have at least 2 or 3 students volunteer to do. So that I have a student who missed out on the peer feedback session. And so I just need to put together a group so you get extra feedback. And then you can provide feedback to another peer. So if your feedback session went a little wonky, or if you're wanting to do it again to help a peer out, I would greatly appreciate it. Let's see here. Yep, I already said that. Please feel free to email me or reach out to me with any questions you have, whether it's about the final assignment this last week, the optional makeup assignment or the extra credit opportunity, the recorded session feedback, anything for real. Please, that's what I'm here for. So this week, we're wrapping things up. I wanted to revisit the scales and tools and kind of give you an idea of how I do them, just because it can be very easy to accidentally like say something or do something that might influence somebody's like wording if you decide to say it out loud as opposed to just hand it to them. So I can quickly just take you through a couple of questions, like how I do that. The ethics corner of this week, there was a lot in there, and so I just wanted to touch on some of that stuff with y'all. I want to physically show you on my desktop here how I saved and organized my content from my time in the MSW program. Some final tips and a goodbye, which I hate and wanted to avoid. So that's why this is coming to you on a Wednesday. Or no, this is Tuesday. It's Tuesday. That's fine. So if we revisit the scales and tools, let's see here. I think I have one here. Like the PHQ-9 is very common. I'm just gonna Google it because we can do that. So for example, if I bring up the PHQ-9, if I'm doing this with someone in front of me, I would be like, okay, so over the last 2 weeks, how often have you been bothered by any of the following problems? You've got like a 0 to 3 scale, 0 meaning not at all, not experienced it at all, any of the days. One being less than half of the days, two being more than half of the days, and three being nearly every day or every day. This questionnaire in particular, several days to me means more than half. So when it says more than half the days, that always really confused me. So I've learned to kind of, you know, finagle the wording a little bit, but I'll just be like, little interest or pleasure in doing things, feeling down, depressed, or hopeless, trouble falling or staying asleep or sleeping too much, feeling tired or having little energy, poor appetite or overeating, feeling bad about yourself or that you are a failure or have let yourself or your family down, trouble concentrating on things such as reading the newspaper or watching television. Sometimes I'll throw in a joke about this one because I'm like, you can tell it's old because it's talking about like reading the newspaper and like watching TV. Like, who does that anymore? Um, moving or speaking so slowly that other people could have noticed, or the opposite, being so fidgety or restless that you've been moving around a lot more than usual. Thoughts that you would be better off dead or of hurting yourself in some way. So does that make sense? Because like there are some people, like I've seen some folks do the thing where they'll do a questionnaire. They're like, have you had like little interest or pleasure in doing things? Or how about feeling down, depressed or hopeless, you know? Like where it's almost like there's like a value on the wording, almost like you're coloring it with the way you're saying the words. And we want this to be kind of flat, so that the client can interpret it however they would want to. So basically, like if they're reading it off the page, we want it to be the same as if we're speaking it out loud and vice versa, you know? So that's kind of what I wanted to convey, because I felt that little nudge in my brain that I should probably mention that I didn't mention it back in the video, uh, like that week's lecture. So let's go to the ethics corner for this week. Um, I tried to dump in like everything I could. Um, and if you want to, like, you can always hit like file print and it prints out like this whole page, right? And you can just save it as a PDF. Um, I don't know how long you have access to these courses after um, the final you know, day or when the final assignment is due, but you don't have access to them over the entire winter break. And so, especially for the things that you find important, I would recommend printing like the pages or saving the materials. Um, but anywho, so you had your self-reflection this week. Just, what do you want to keep from this semester? What do you want to let go of before next semester? What did you do well? What do you want to improve on? How can you best set yourself up for success moving forward? And what resources have you found or can you find to help support you? Because there are always resources. Something I have figured out is that, like, no matter what you've experienced or what you need, or what you're feeling, somebody else has already thought of it, felt it, or created a resource for it. And so there's always support available, depending on what you need, and where you are. Um, so this is a whole bunch of like knowledge and tips, things you can do right now. Um, find your access point to the work. I figured out, gosh, I think it was like my second semester in the program that, obviously there are books that we can all read, like Stamped from the Beginning and all of these other things, but every population that you might want to work with and every type of work you might want to do has shown up in different types of media, like music and poetry and plays and books and, not just nonfiction. It's like there's TV shows about this stuff and, not that they're all perfect, but the work is also getting to know stories that are different from your own perspective and understanding of the world. And so anything that gives you that, like access to that, I would totally recommend. Um, this is my second year thesis, or not thesis, my second year internship I did at Modus Theater in Boulder, Colorado. So this is an example of kind of some of the stuff that inspired me when I was in school myself. Definitely get practice insurance. Um, Even as a student, like having an internship, companies are there to protect themselves. And so, you can always follow the company, but if at the end of the day, if it's the company or you, like you got to just make sure you're protected. Keep the contact information from everyone you meet. You've got my contact info, so please save my information. Reach out if you need something or if you have a question or just want to catch up. Keep in touch. I'm hoping to teach at least one class next semester, but I'm still waiting to hear from the department whether or not that's going to happen. So fingers crossed. Save the materials from your classes, including like the non-required resources. Um, to a folder on your desktop, you can use Zotero to save links or save them to like a read it later app. Like I said, you can also print, all the materials, that are written out. I've got some MSU Denver resources specifically, finding out a system of organization that works for you. So, giving you some examples here. Use the MSU Denver Writing Center. If you're finding that you're having difficulty getting good grades on papers, like utilize the Writing Center and let your professors know, hey, I'm using the Writing Center. This person, I had these meetings and I'm doing everything I should be to do the work. And so, that way you can cover your butt still. Um, you could join NASW. I know I've hit on that a lot. I promise I don't get a kickback for that, but that was something, especially in Colorado, that really helped me feel connected and like I had a group that I could turn to. Figure out what you're most interested in and figure out what you're most uncomfortable with. So, um, discomfort can be a sign that like there's work to be done there, but discomfort also could mean that that's a boundary for you. And so just start thinking about those kinds of things as you encounter them. Like we're very much taught in today's society to just throw ourselves into our work and do everything 110%. And it's not sustainable, especially if there's stuff that triggers us. Um, like you don't have to do that work, you know? Um, Here's stuff you can do in the future, knowing your resources, um, some resources that I've found invaluable. These were just the ones that could think of on off the top of my head. Some Buddhism and mindfulness. I love Pema Chodron. If you haven't heard Pema Chodron before, totally love Pema Chodron. Podcasts, Maintenance Phase, and What Now with Trevor Noah. I would also add to that uh, the Blind Boy podcast, and Power User by Taylor Lorenz. I can add that in. YouTube channels and specific videos, some books. I know we've already mentioned Trauma Stewardship, but these are other ones that have kind of really blown my mind, I think I had mentioned in several videos I've been watching Mythbusters, and my spouse and I finished the whole like series over the course of this semester. So I wanted to give you um some lessons that I learned from Mythbusters and like other life lessons. Um, yeah. So just wanted to touch on those and go over them briefly because I know you've got a lot on your plate right now. Um, And let me go ahead and show you how I saved and organized my MSW course content. So I have a lot of um, kind of folders on my desktop. So um, under education, I've got a whole bunch of different things. So I have my MSU Denver. I think I mentioned on several videos that I used the Access Center a bunch. And so I totally recommend if you have a diagnosis, go ahead and, reach out to them. It's better to have those things on file and not need them than need them and not have them because they're not retroactive. This is like all my admissions information. I copied and pasted my own course evaluations for each semester I did them so that I remembered what I said about my professors. This is like my internships. So I did, two in my first year and then Modus Theater Company, um, miscellaneous resources and stuff. But if I go into like fall of 2020, oh, hey, look, there's our generalist practice one. So I actually put down, like I printed the pages for like the different types of grading that would happen and like the assignment breakdown. So this is like the description of the assignment. And then I, saved my own like papers and stuff here too for this assignment. Um, and then so like for each module, I would uh, basically, download any materials that were utilized. And sometimes I would actually even print the course pages just so I would have access to all of that information. Um, but yeah, at least I have all of these resources still if I ever wanted to go back and search them. So like here's my mod 14. Um, yeah, we did a lot in those classes, but yeah. I mean, that's kind of how it was, right? Like I just for my social policy analysis class, instead of doing module per module, I, primarily focused on the assignments, and then I just threw all of the um we primarily were just working out of one textbook, and so I went ahead and dumped in what I could of the like the assignments, and like this was like the discussion board, right? So I would print this out and then write on it like what my responses were when I read the chapter so that when I went in to, reply, I had my points that I wanted to discuss. Um, so that's that. Like it's pretty simple and straightforward if you think about it, but um I would also like if there were a bunch of links that I wanted to save, I utilized Zotero, which is kind of a whole other thing. You can Google it, Zotero. Yeah, Zotero. It's a way to actually kind of automatize your um, what am I trying to say? References. And you can also keep your PDFs of your articles there too. I guess I could show you that as well because I think I still have Zotero unless it needs to like load up. That might suck because it's been a hot minute since I've opened it. Oh, here we go. So let's see here. Everything MSU Denver. Let's take a look here. So fall 2020 GP1. So these were like the videos that we watched on YouTube. So this was kind of how I organized my references and resources for um, the different articles I used and books that I used in my assignments and things. And I would also track the videos that I watched or those different articles. So like for social policy analysis, like I used that many resources for my last paper. Yeah. So anywho, that might be something worth looking into. My tips for you as we get to the end of this time together, whatever you're feeling as the semester comes to a close, it's totally normal and fine. Like if you're grieving, if you're sad, if you're relieved, if you are angry, if you're disappointed, if you're happy, if you're like anything, those feelings are totally normal, and totally fine. Um, the first steps when you have a client, or even if you're trying to help yourself through some stuff, is to switch up your internal narrative or your client's internal narrative. Instead of using passive language, if you hear them saying, oh, yeah, I need to do this, or I should do that, or oh, yeah, I wish I could have, or that kind of thing, you can change it to, I will do this, or I am doing this, or I do like myself, or that kind of thing. Changing it to active from passive. That kind of gets the motor running as far as action goes. Changing negative language to neutral language. So like I hate myself, I'm stupid, to I guess I'm okay. Um, and I mean, I guess I'm of average intelligence. And then from there you can go from like neutral to more positive thoughts, like from I hate myself to uh, you know, I guess I'm okay to, I'm not so bad. I guess I don't really hate myself. I'm actually kind of a good person. Um, Creating space between a thought and an action. So I have a client who overthinks, and it's like, can you identify that moment before you go down those bunny trails of like everything that could go wrong and might go wrong and all of that, and just take a pause and acknowledge that you're about to go down that rabbit hole? Um, and he's been able to do that so far. And it creates a little bit of space, and it also starts creating that awareness. And we don't want to judge that. Like literally the first thing was just acknowledge that it's happening and then do whatever. It's not judgment, not judgment at all. We're not trying to even change behavior at that point. It's just literally, oh, I guess I'm about to overthink again. Cool. Now that I've acknowledged that, here's my overthinking, da 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 da. And sometimes it automatically kind of shifts the person's understanding and relationship to it to the point where it does kind of change behaviors. But that awareness and that space can then be built. You can create more and more space to the point where it's like you can make a different choice if you want, or the client can, I should say. And it's also like, getting the client to think about their thinking. Right now, what you're doing in the program is you're thinking about your thinking. You're thinking about how you're showing up in the world and what's going on with that. So, yeah, it's not easy. It's not necessarily fun, but it's something that I think is important that we all do as humans, as conscious beings, as people who interact with other people. Um, we're not all going to be perfect or get it right, or whatever that even means. But thinking about our thinking and the reasons we think the way we do or act the way we do, that creates opportunity for change, and to make different choices. Getting to know your boundaries. I know I said that in the ethics corner, but like boundaries are super hard, especially if you were assigned female at birth. Like, it's we're trained to acquiesce to make everybody else feel comfortable and to just do whatever it takes to, you know, make everything okay for everybody else and to be mediators and all of that. And depending on your, how you grew up or the situations you've experienced in your life, you may have experienced these things too. The better we can define our own boundaries and understand where they are and what we can wiggle on and what we can't, personally as individuals, the better we are as people and social workers. Because, like, for example, I know I can't work with somebody who's just come out of a domestic violence situation, straight up. Any gender, I cannot, because that's just something that I've experienced in my life, and I can't do that. That's a boundary for me. That's a solid boundary. Um, However, if somebody did, have that as part of their past and they've, got a few years beyond that, and what they're coming in for is like anxiety, um, that's something I might be able to work with. Um, and yeah, getting comfortable with discomfort. It's kind of weird to say, but like I think especially right now we're being taught to seek comfort everywhere, right? And comfort over everything else. But really, discomfort is like where the best things happen. I'm listening to Daring Greatly by Brene Brown. I mean, she's like the social worker, right? That you hear nonstop about. Um, but like I've just heard she was talking about how discomfort, like we're not meant to be comfortable all the time. We're not meant to be happy all the time. It's not realistic. It's not possible. Like, and social media in particular has kind of forced us into this mindset that, having happiness all the time or being comfortable is worth sacrificing vulnerability and authenticity. And I just, through my lived experience, I don't believe that. I don't think that's healthy personally. I think we all do what we need to do to survive and to get through. And sometimes that means building up these barriers and these coping mechanisms. But eventually, things have to calm down a bit and enough to perhaps shed some of that. And some people cling to those things because that's what protected them. But at the end of the day, it feels inauthentic and exhausting um, to carry that weight around. Um, so yeah, figure out where your discomfort is and maybe you don't have I'm not telling you to run straight into it. I'm just saying flag that as a thought like, huh, maybe I should, take a class about that or loop back around to that at some point, or I want to do some more investigation about this thing because I can tell this makes me uncomfortable, but I don't quite know why. Um, yeah. Thank you all so much. This is so weird to say goodbye. Yeah, this has been a great semester. Like, I've really enjoyed interacting with everybody. Y'all have done some amazing work, and for how kind of scary and unknowable and uncertain the world is right now, y'all are doing the work, and it gives me a lot of hope for our future together. Um, yeah, so just keep doing what you're doing. My motto is kind of do what you got to do to get through. Um, Yeah, give yourselves like a huge, huge round of applause or like pat on the back or whatever feels right to you for the amount of work that you've done and how you've shown up in this semester, in this course, but also in your lives, because it's just not an easy time to be a human, period. Um, yeah, I guess that's it. I hope to see you all again at some point, but if not, I hope you go out and do amazing things. And I'm not saying it has to be like life-changing, you know, but the work you're doing is already amazing. So yeah, just keep going, keep going. Um, yeah. All right. It's been a pleasure.